We're also going to take a look at number 11 from the test review part 2. And so that is solving this equation. This is a quadratic because it has an x squared in it. We're going to learn that there's two ways to do the quadratic. The one we've talked about, you can either solve for 0 and factor, or in this case, because there is no x term, you can solve for the x squared term. So to do that, we're going to add 76 to both sides, which is going to give us 5x squared equals 240. And then we divide both sides by 5 to isolate the x squared. And so that gives us x squared equals 48. And then to solve this, we take the square root of both sides, but don't forget, whenever you are the one that is inserting the square root, like we just did here as a tool to solve this equation, you have to do plus or minus. And so it's going to be plus or minus, and the square root of 48 is 4 root 3 because 16 goes into 48 3 times. Okay, for number 16, I don't think we talked explicitly about this. The in part is the part that we didn't. The reason why for this to be negative, in has to be odd, is because if it was even, if you think about it, an even exponent, that it would essentially solve the something to the nth power would have to equal x. Well, if we want it to be negative, then we can't have an even power because something to the even power always ends up positive. And so that is why for this to be a negative number, the nth root has to be a negative, or has to be an odd number, because we're going to be essentially raising something to that odd power to get a negative. And then obviously for the inside has to be negative because the cube root of 8 is 2, not negative 2, right? We need the cube root of negative 2 to be the answer. So n has to be odd, and then x has to be negative to make this a negative solution. And then the last one, it says, what number is 2/3 the way from 4/5 to 1/4? So remember, if we did this on a number line, it would look like something like this. We'd start at 4/5. We go this direction to get to 1/4. And we want to find out what is 2/3 of the way. So somewhere right around in here is what we're looking for. The way we do that is by saying, well, what is the distance from here to here? And then find out what 2/3 of that distance is. So we do the distance from there to there is just going to be 4/5 minus 1/4, which turns out to equal what? 16/20 minus 5/20, or 11/20. So the distance that we're going to travel from 4/5 to 1/4 is 11/20. And we want to go 2/3 that distance, so we just multiply that times 2/3, and we get 11/30 is how far we need to travel from 4/5 to 1/4. That's how far we need to travel, so we start at 4/5 and we go that direction. Well, when you go to the left on a number line, what you're doing is you're subtracting. And so we subtract 11/30 from 4/5. That equals 13/30 when you change to common denominators. So the correct answer there for 19 is 13/30.